afternoon. We start with the decision in the biggest abortion case to reach the U.S. Supreme Court in nearly a quarter century. The High Court struck down a Texas law that made it harder for women to get an abortion. NBC's Brian Moore has the decision from Washington.
Cheers erupted outside the U.S. Supreme Court this morning as a 5-3 majority struck down what may well have been the most restrictive abortion law in the nation. A loss for Texas and anti-abortion forces was a decisive victory for supporters of abortion rights. The ruling, delivered on the final decision day of this term, also affects a dozen other states with similarly restrictive abortion laws. The court struck down a 2013 Texas law that required clinics where abortions are performed to meet the same standards as outpatient surgical centers, and doctors performing the procedures were required to have admitting privileges at a nearby hospital.
Today, women lost. Today, the Supreme Court put politics over the health and safety of women in our country.
Proponents say it was all about protecting women's health.
That this was going to jeopardize, not improve women's health, and that certainly has been the outcome where women have lost their access to safe abortion care in our state.
But there was another obvious effect. The number of clinics performing abortions in Texas fell from 42 to 19 and was about to drop to 10. Writing for the majority, Justice Stephen Breyer said the law provided few, if any, health benefits and posed a substantial obstacle to women seeking abortions. Brian Moore, NBC News, Washington.
With this historic ruling, justice has been served and our clinics can stay open.
That is Amy Hagstrom Miller, the owner of Whole Women's Health. She says she's excited about the court's decision, but Miller also says the clinics that have closed in Texas won't reopen overnight, and there's lots of work to do, and there are some who aren't happy with today's ruling.
This morning's opinion from the Supreme Court is extremely disappointing. We were there in March for the oral arguments, and we knew that Justice Kennedy would be the swing vote.
That is John Seago from Texas Right to Life, and he says this could be motivation to take up the issue again next session. And House Bill 2, as it was called when it passed, put Texas in the national spotlight. Back in June of 2013, State Senator Wendy Davis rose to prominence, standing for 11 hours to filibuster the bill. That delayed the bill, but Texas lawmakers passed it a few weeks later in special session. In October of 2014, the Supreme Court blocked several parts of the Texas law, calling it a burden for women to have fewer abortion facilities to go to. And last June, the Supreme Court ruled again, blocking part of an appeals court decision that could suggest a majority of justices did not like the state's rules. Now,